Today I will talk to you about the new adventures of He-Man toy line. I only have the newer versions from the classics. I do not have any of the vintage ones. So I'll start with the figure that was supposed to be the original look for the He-Man in the new adventures. This version is called Laserlight Human. In the old vintage line he was released together with the Laserlight Skeletor, and both of them were made to look very futuristic. In other words, planning them for a completely new cartoon series in the toy line, and they were released only in certain countries in Western Europe, such as Spain, Italy, Germany, and France. They did not see the light of day in other countries. This particular version of Laserlight Human is the updated version that Mattel released a few years back, and he was released together in the same package with the Laserlight Skeletor. The only difference between this version and the vintage version of Laserlight He-Man is the fact that the head sculpt is different, but everything else about his appearance is pretty much the same, including the action feature, which is located in this big knapsack that he has on his back. That when you press the button on top of that knapsack, his light sword will light up, which is sort of reminiscent of the Star Wars lightsabers. He also comes with an arm guard on his right arm, and that armor can be removed. The head can be removed, but the armor itself cannot be removed due to the fact that it's connected to the knapsack, which is built into it. He comes with a sword that's connected to the knapsack with this hose, and the side of the knapsack right here has a big clip where the sword can be stored when not used by the figure. So this appearance of this version of Laserlight Human has a very futuristic look to him. He did not show up in any of the cartoons. He did have an appearance, however, in one of the mini comic books that was packaged with the classics figures, showing him fighting the Laserlight Skeletor. So, to show you the next figure would be the actual look that Mattel settled with how the He-Man in the new adventures will look like. And that is this particular version, where He-Man has a ponytail, and again he has a very futuristic look. This figure came with two removable armors and two heads. The armor here is a smaller armor that came with also this particular sword that can be stored at the back here, in the sheath at the back of the armor, like so. And he came with this shield. Now, of course, in order to update his look later on, one more sword and shield that belonged to him were released to compensate that they were not originally packaged together. So this is the second sword that came later with another figure. And here is the one that he came with. So both of them are his. The only difference is the design and the color of the blades. Now also we have two shields. One that came with New Adventures of He-Man, which is this one, and another one, which is this one that came packaged with Lord Musk, but it also belongs to New Adventures of He-Man figure. Again, the only difference between these two would be the color and the design. Going back to the He-Man himself, I also would like to tell that he came with an extra head that has a helmet molded on it and a bigger armor. So instead of me using it as a separate and constantly switching the armors and the heads, I practically use those pieces to build an actual He-Man on the side. So I use the body of Mighty Spectre to simply remove the head and put New Adventures of He-Man helmeted head and the armor. And since this particular figure cannot hold these laser swords very well and it's very loose, instead I gave him this big honking laser rifle, which belongs to one of the characters from the vintage Marvel Spider-Man action figures. So that laser rifle sort of gives him a more futuristic look, and I decided to make him sort of as a separate character, but again, to be compatible with He-Man himself. So you can pretty much see how two versions of He-Man would look like side by side. And I will also show you Laserlight Human and the He-Man of New Adventures, how they look like side by side. So that would be as far as the story goes of He-Man himself, through what changes he went through. Moving on would be a character that showed up only in the comics about New Adventures of He-Man, but did not show up in the cartoon series, not to my recollection, is the character called Darius. Now Darius, from the planet Primus, I believe he was an equivalent of a sword to King Randor from Eternia. He's wearing a full battle armor, space armor, and he comes with a shield, and he comes with a sort of a high-tech futuristic mace that has a huge ball or a globe, whatever you want to call it, at the end of it. The head is removable, but also the helmet as well. But when we remove the helmet, he sort of has an appearance and almost looks like the same head sculpt as Fisto, let's say. This is how the helmet looks like. And Darius here also comes with a very sizable cape at the back. The armor can be removed, and of course he does have the articulation as majority of the figures from the Classics line. So he's an ally and a friend of He-Man and the planet Primus. Next in line we have a character that was never in existence in the vintage New Adventures of He-Man, either the toy line or the cartoon, and that would be New Adventures She-Ra. Due to the fact that there's a lot of emphasis on the fact that she's He-Man's sister, they decided in the Classics to release how she would have looked like, or give us a design how she would have looked like if she did go to the planet Primus together with He-Man. So just like her brother, she's changed to have a more futuristic look to her, and the sword she's wielding is almost exactly the same as the one that her brother carries, so you can sort of see them side by side. The design is definitely the same, except her sword is a little bit more lean in appearance, and the blade is fluorescent green rather than fluorescent yellow. Just like her brother, she also comes with a battle shield, and the shield is shaped like her, like the crest on her old classic costume, and it's also made of translucent green, fluorescent green color. And she's also wearing a costume that sort of resembles a bit her vintage costume, meaning her costume from the vintage toy line. And she comes with a cape, and as an additional weapon she kept her laser gun that she has as a Adora figure. It's pretty much the same gun and the same build, so this is how that gun looks like. And she appears in one or two mini comics from the Classics line, where she is shown fighting against Horde Prime. Now of course the head is removable, but what is not removable is this helmet that she's wearing, because the helmet is molded onto her head. She did not change her hairstyle because her hair is still long, just like it was in her classic look. And the legs have a bit of a hindrance moving all the way because of the very long armor that overlaps the legs, so she cannot really do a very big split, and she cannot move her legs too much forward or backward. The armor is made of soft rubbery plastic, but still there is some difficulty in moving the legs around, at least on my figure. So here she is together, just checking on something. Here she is together with her brother side by side. So how would they look next to each other? So that is She-Ra from the New Adventures. And Next character in line would be an ally who also helped bring Human to Primus, who also existed in the old toy line as well. That would be Hydra. He's a galactic guardian. Hydra is sort of he's definitely human, but he has a futuristic snorkeling equipment and a harpoon weapon and a removable helmet with a small attachable knapsack of a sort at the back. He has a sculpted molded details all over him, including a non-removable small knife, and he seems like he's wearing a snorkeling suit of a sort, a sophisticated advanced snorkeling suit. The armor itself seemed to be able to be removed because there is little knobs on the side in order to have it removed. I didn't try to remove it, and I didn't try to remove the helmet and the head, but I do believe that they could be removed for the display without the helmet. He has the normal regular articulation. He can do a split. The arms and legs have the regular type of articulation as most of the other figures, and that would be Hydra, one of the Galactic Guardians. Next in line is Icarus, who is a close friend of Hydra and also an ally of Human on the planet Primus. He seems to be a weapon specialist of a sort, so in a way kind of an equivalent of Men-at-Arms back in Eternia. He came with two heads. One was helmeted one, which is right here, where the visor can be lifted to reveal his face, and the secondary head, which I don't keep on display, is his head without the helmet. He's practically, again, a human underneath it all, and this particular rifle did not come together with him, but I gave it to him to sort of arm him a little bit more for combat. And he comes with this huge detachable vehicle of a sort that seems to fire rockets, and it's very well it's molded in such a way to represent a lot of, it kind of resembles the vehicle that the Green Goblin would use, or even Hobgoblin from Spider-Man. That's how it almost looks, but more sophisticated and more advanced. And of course it can be attached on his back, and he can stand on it, at least on one side of it. And he comes also with removable rocket launchers, which go into his left arm. The head can be removed as well, and the armor too. So the armor is also removable. I always keep checking for the details of the little knobs on the side, if they have it, because a few figures do not have removable armors, but this one does. And his articulation again is pretty much the same as to be expected from majority of the figures in this line. Sorry, this is actually how the vehicle should be attached. So practically with the rockets pointing up, not down, because if you try the other way around, it just won't stand properly. Now, the next character, that's also from the New Adventures, would be Mara of Primus. In a way, she would be an equivalent, or considered to be an equivalent of Tila. She comes armed with this long spear that has a spiked mace at the end, and also with this shield. But her other primary weapon would be her long ponytail weapon that she can swing and attack enemies with. And her hair seems to be that strong that it carries an actual mace at the end of it to inflict more damage. She comes in an armor that's not removable, and she did have an appearance in the New Adventures of Human cartoon series. She was never made into the vintage toy line of the New Adventures, so this was her very first figure to be made, just like Darius. Both of them are the characters that never saw the light of day before, until now. So that would be Mara of Primus. Now, I saved one character who is also an ally of Human on Primus, and I saved him as they would say, I saved the best for last. And that's the newest addition to my new Adventures of Human figures, and that would be Tusk Adore. Tusk Adore is practically a human who is very similar or an equivalent to Snout Spout, and he is sporting a very heavy-duty costume that resembles that of elephant and let's say a mammoth combined with sophisticated technology. He came with a laser rifle, which is this one right here, and he comes also with a removable helmet to reveal his human face underneath. So this is how he looks underneath the helmet. He seems to be sporting a hat, or a cap that protects his head, and with that cap he looks more like an astronaut, or he looks even more like a water polo player. So the helmet can be of course put back on, the head can be removed, but I don't really have a tendency to do that with my figures, not unless I want to customize something. The whole costume that he's wearing is pretty much, except for the helmet, is made of very soft rubbery plastic, or soft rubber that is. The helmet itself is made of an actual plastic, and there's a great deal of detail, especially at the back here, showing sort of robotic parts and details of his costume. He is not by any means cyborg, he's just an actual human dressed up in a heavy-duty suit, and he comes with these removable tusks, so when he's wearing these particular tusks he looks more like a typical elephant. But since they can be removed like so, it's very easy to remove them and reattach them. One can actually put these much longer tusks, attach them instead, and with these tusks he's able to lift his enemies to mimic his action feature from his vintage figure. So let's just use He-Man for a demonstration. So he's able to capture his enemies like so, and the idea is that he can then just fling them over, or just throw them on the side, because he has very powerful tusks. With these long tusks he resembles more an actual ancient mammoth elephant. And mammoths and elephants are from that they have similar appearance anyway. So, and he can, I also like to mention about him that he's quite a heavy figure. He's larger than others. He's even larger than Ram-Man as well. So I will just show you very quickly the size difference compared to He-Man. So there they are. You can tell that Tusk Adore is quite taller and wider and bigger than He-Man. He's a very good figure, and I like bulky figures, so he fits the idea quite well. And he looks pretty good on display, except I would strongly advise to always put some support for him, because he can easily keel over and fall off the shelf. But other than that, he's a great figure. Anyway, that is all for now. I'll catch you guys next time with evil mutants from the New Adventures of He-Man. Thanks for watching. See you later, guys. Bye.